Casual, where today we are going to be previewing the NFC West for this upcoming football season. And before we get into this preview, make sure you check out the playlist, which I will leave a link to in the description of all the other previews we've done so far. And also make sure you leave a like, subscribe as well, and turn that notification bell so you don't miss more amazing content over here at Couch Casual. And again, as always, make sure you're in the comment section letting me know what you agree with, what you disagree with, and again, make sure you're sharing your football opinion in that comment section. And without further ado, let's get into this NFC West preview. The first team we have for the finishing last in the division for the NFC West, I do have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I think the Cardinals are going to finish a lot better than many people think, despite maybe a lackluster talent. And I think it starts mainly with the offense. So first thing offensively, you have your quarterback. You have Kyler Murray, who obviously had that ACL injury, had to start last season late, didn't really get a chance to sort of get in rhythm. And that's when you had guys like Josh Dobbs doing what he did. But you have Kyler now back for a full season, and you pair him with some pretty good weapons and a supporting cast, in my opinion. You have James Conner at running back, who isn't necessarily the flashiest guy, but he'll put up his numbers. Trey Benson was one of the top running backs in this draft class. You have him as well. And third round, fourth round running backs, they just seem to produce in their rookie season no matter what. So I could see Benson being very good for this offense as well. You obviously draft Marvin Harrison, fourth overall, potential generational talent at receiver. You pair him with Michael Wilson, who I really like. I really like Michael Wilson as a receiver. Zay Jones is a very quality guy. And then Greg Dortch. I don't see why you can't like Greg Dortch. His nickname is Dortch the Torch. You can't not like him. That's a very quality top four receivers there. And then at tight end, I think they have one of the better tight ends in football, to be honest. I think arguably top 10 in Trey McBride. I really like Trey McBride. I think I might have had him as my breakout player for the Cardinals. And then their O-line, you obviously drafted Paris Johnson last year. Everyone else, Jonah Williams, Will Hernandez, Froholt, Isaiah Adams, they're quality linemen. But I definitely think the strength of this team is Kyler, Connor, Harrison, Wilson, and McBride. And I think that can really carry them to a pretty decent offense this year. And then when you look on the defensive side of the ball, definitely not as good, but I don't think it's bad by any means. Zaven Collins, I really think it seems like they're going to use him more as an edge rusher this year, and I really think that will help. I think it's very similar to Hassan Reddick. I think he was being used as sort of a coverage guy that occasionally rushed the passer at linebacker in Arizona for the start of his career, and then they sort of made him an edge rusher. I think he got double-digit sacks, and then he got a big contract from the Panthers, played good there, and then he went to the Eagles and had great seasons, and now he's on the Jets. I'm pretty sure they've for the first part of his career, Zaven Collins has been that type of guy that Reddick was at the beginning of his career, and now it seems like they might be shifting him to a full-time edge rusher type, and that could be very good for Zaven Collins. Just like McBride, I could see him having a big breakout. You also have B.J. Ojolari and then Darius Robinson, who are very good young pass rushers as well. Bilal Nichols is a solid D tackle. Their linebacker room, I think, is okay. Kaiser White is decent. Mac Wilson's okay. Chris Barnes is solid. It's an okay linebacker core, but I really like their secondary, mainly Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jalen Thompson, and Budda Baker. I really like that three-person secondary they got there, and I think you combine that with their with their D line, not necessarily a front seven, and they could have a solid defense to pair with a potential pretty good offense. And I do have them finishing with an 8-9 record. I know it seems low But you look at teams like the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Niners, and those are really good teams as well. I don't think I don't think this is the year where they compete necessarily. I think they have a really good season, and maybe in a year or two, maybe they can compete for a double-digit win season. I do have Kyler Murray winning MVP. Again, he's finally full. He finally gets to start the season. He's healthy to begin the season. I could see him with Marvin Harrison, Connor McBride having a very good year. In fact, I actually have Marvin Harrison not only being the best rookie, I think that's obvious, I also have him being the offensive player of the year for the Cardinals. I think he can have a monster season in his rookie year. 1,500 plus yards potentially. And then defensive player of the year was between Budda Baker or Zaven Collins, in my opinion. I went with the more proven guy in Budda Baker. He's just been a solid. Just been a solid safety for him. And I would have thought maybe he would have wanted to have left by this point because they haven't been very good. But I think they can start competing again. Maybe Budda Baker can stick around. Next team we have is the Seattle Seahawks. I do have them finishing in third place. You'll see in a bit. It's very close between everyone except the Niners for second, third, and fourth place. But I do have the Seahawks finishing at third. Looking at their offense, it's essentially the same as last year. Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, Metcalf, Lockett, Njigba, Noah Fant. They still have Jake Bobo, who had that incredible touchdown last year. And then you also bring in Laviska Shenault, who can be a good gadget guy as long as he can stay healthy. And I didn't even mention Zach Charbonnet. Him and Kenneth Walker is a very good running back duo. It's a very good offense. Now, Geno Smith maybe limits it just a little bit, but outside of Geno Smith, it is a very good offense. Their O-line is even solid with Cross, Lucas, Laken Tomlinson, just to name some of them. It's a very solid offense. And I think they will look at the draft next year and potentially get Geno Smith's replacement. I know they traded for Sam Howell, but I think they should look in the draft. Maybe you can get a guy like Carson Beck. He might go in like the top 3. But I think you get a very good quarterback. Hopefully develop him for 2 years. Plug him into this lineup, and I think they're set up for success. But Geno Smith, by all means, is not a bad quarterback. And I think him having this supporting cast around him, I think they'll be a very good offense. They did lose Pete Carroll, so we'll see how that affects not just the offense, but the whole team. But I do like who they brought in. I think it's McDonald from the Ravens, I think is who they brought in. I think he's a defensive-minded. Yeah, Mike McDonald. He was the Ravens defensive coordinator. And speaking of the Seahawks defense, it's a little bit different, but it essentially is the same too. Secondary, I think, is where they stand out. You have the Witherspoon, who was one of the better rookie corners. You have Tariq Woolen, who had a bit of a down year, but that doesn't mean he had a bad season. Julian Love's a good safety. I like Rayshawn Jenkins. Front seven wise, Jerome Baker, he's decent. Their front seven is okay. Uchenna Nwosu, I think that's how you say it. I like him. They obviously drafted Byron Murphy to be that future interior lineman. They did re-sign Leonard Williams, so that was good. Make that trade with the Giants actually worth it because you paid him. Boye Mafe is a solid edge rusher. It's a Seahawks team. They brought in a really good defensive coordinator. It's going to be a good defense. And just like the Cardinals, I also had them finishing 8-9. They just get the tiebreaker over the Cardinals. MVP, I actually have going to DK Metcalf. I think out of him, Walker, Lockett, and JSN, I guess Noah Fant too, because I really like Noah Fant. I think he'll have the best statistical season on that offense. So I have him winning Offensive Player of the Year, and I think Geno Smith's numbers will just be solid and that will lead me to give Metcalf the MVP as well. Defensive Player of the Year, I did give it to Witherspoon. I think you could argue he is the best player on this defense, and I think he will play like that next year as well. And then Rookie of the Year, I gave it to Byron Murphy. Not many other players I could really see on this team getting enough enough snaps. And I do like Byron Murphy, so I gave him the Rookie of the Year. And then moving on to the team I have second, I think it's be obvious based on what I said. It is the Los Angeles Rams, the last team in this outside the Niners group in this division. I do have them finishing second. Looking at the offense, just like most of these teams outside, I guess, the Cardinals, it's very similar to last year. You have, obviously, Stafford, really good, consistent quarterback. Kyren Williams really broke out last year. And they also drafted Blake Corum, who is one of the better running backs in college football last year. The receiver core is very good. You obviously have the duo of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. If Cooper Kupp can stay healthy, that's easily 2,000-yard receivers right there. They brought in Demarcus Robinson, who's a quality guy. If he can be your third receiver behind Kupp and Nacua, that's not the end of the world. Tutu Atwell can be a nice change of pace guy. And then tight end wise, I do like Tyler Higbee. Very good, solid tight end. Their O-line is decent. They have Kevin Dotson, Jonah Jackson, Rob Havenstein. It's a good O-line. But with Kyren, Stafford, Kupp, Nacua, and Higbee as well, and of course Sean McVay, probably the most important part of this offense, to be honest, they're going to be a good offense. And then defensively, I think, is where they take a hit, because obviously we all know they lost Aaron Donald to retirement last year, but their D-line is sneaky good. It is very young, because they do have Braden Fisk, who's a rookie. They have Jared Verse, who's a rookie. Byron Young might be, I think he's a second-year guy. He's my breakout player for the Rams, but he's also young. It's a good but young D-line group at linebacker. They also have Ernest Jones, who he's a quality guy. I do like their secondary, though. They picked up Tre'Davious White from the Bills, who got released. They have Cameron Curl, who he really had that great start to his career and kind of slowed down or kind of plateaued a bit, but he's still a good player. I like Darius Williams. I like Kobe Durant. I know the Aaron Donald loss will obviously hurt them, but if this young D-line can really work well and play well early on, it can be a very good defense. And I do have them, once again, finishing with an 8-9 record. I could have definitely seen myself giving them 9 wins, but they do have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks and Cardinals, so I do have them finishing second. Stafford, I gave them their MVP. I try to give it to the quarterbacks, just like the real award. As much as we don't like it, it is what happens. And I do think Stafford will have a good enough season to be the Rams MVP. However, I think the most valuable player to the Rams will be Puka Nacua, who I gave Offensive Player of the Year to. Coming off record-breaking year as a rookie receiver. Cooper Kupp, healthy. He doesn't have all the attention. I think he'll have another fantastic season. Defensive Player of the Year, I actually gave it to Byron Young. Almost said Bryce Young. I gave it to Byron Young. Not only do I think he'll break out, I think he'll break out into a very good player. It was either him or Tre'Davious White, and I decided to give it to the edge rusher, Byron Young. And then Rookie of the Year, I gave it to another edge rusher. I gave it to Jared Verse. I liked him coming into the draft, so I think he'll have a very good season. It was pretty much him, Corum, or Fisk, and I went with Jared Verse. And then last team, we all know this was coming. It's the San Francisco 49ers. This one's going to be quick. There's not much to talk about with them. It's pretty much the same team as last year. Offensively, you got Brock Purdy. We all know how we think about Brock Purdy. Is he just in a good system? Well, he's obviously in a good system, but I still think he is a good quarterback. You obviously have Christian McCaffrey, best running back in football. Debo is not necessarily like a top 10 receiver, but he's like a top 10 player that plays receiver. Brandon Ayuk is one of the better receivers. Who knows if he's going to be on the team by the time the season starts. But whether or not he is, he's a good player. Jawan Jennings is a very good third option. And they drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round. People were skeptical on that pick, but he's got great hands. So, and he's in this Niners team. There's not many offenses you'd rather be in as a rookie receiver. They obviously have George Kittle. I know George Kittle is going to get all the attention at tight end, but Logan Thomas is not even that bad of a tight end. You have Kyle Juszczyk, the best fullback in football, and then their O-line is definitely, I guess, the weakest part of this offense. I mean, it's an incredible offense, but you still have Trent Williams anchoring that O-line. There's not much to really talk about. It's gonna be a good offense. Same thing with the defense. You have Nick Bosa, Hargrave, Greenlaw, Warner, Travarius Ward, Hufanga's back, Lenore, and they also added Devondre Campbell as well. And you also added, I think, Yetur Gross-Matos, who's just a quality rotational pass rusher. They're gonna be one of the better teams. Again, there's not much to talk about. I have the Niners finishing at 12-5. I was thinking maybe I was seeing if I would end up giving them 13 wins, but I ended up at 12 here. MVP McCaffrey to be honest, he should have won it last year. So I'm gonna give, if he almost won MVP last year in the whole league, I don't see why he can't be the best player for the Niners. So I also gave him Offensive Player of the Year. And just like there's not much to talk about with him, Nick Bosa, it's him or Fred Warner on this defense. And then Rookie of the Year, I think the only rookie that has a chance to play is Ricky Pearsall. So I decided to give him the best rookie for the Niners. And that leaves us with the final standings. A lot of 8-9 records with the Rams, Seahawks, and Cardinals finishing 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, with the Niners winning the division at a 12-5 record. And that will do it for my NFC West preview. Let me know again in the comment section what you agreed with, disagree with. Again, also check out the playlist in the description for all the other division previews we've done so far. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.